Hello, this is Saturday, December 14th, where I am. I'm going to be spectating a race. I'm not racing in this one, but I'm excited about it. They're very interesting races. This will be the ladder racing inter-squad dirty ladder race that Jeff Baumgardner is hosting. It starts in 10 minutes. Let's kind of look at this a little bit more. We'll talk about it. It's a very interesting new uh, race format that's being introduced in the TrainingPeaks virtual. I'll just call that TPV, this platform from here. Easier to say. Jeff is trying to get some interest going in this type of racing. It's popular on Zwift, and he and several other racers have a lot of experience there. They're trying to bring that to this platform, mainly because it's very interesting tactical team racing, which makes it a lot of fun for a lot of us. That's what we're all looking for. So let's take a look at this thing. So this is the course. He has it set up on little loops, and it's a custom finish, looks like. So he'll start on the velodrome, descend down the velodrome, up around the south lake. There's a little punchy climb there. Back towards the coast, a little brief run along the coast, up the velodrome again, back where they started, down, and then a couple of laps, and they'll finish on South Lake, just over that little bump. So it's a custom finish there. We'll see it. We'll get a couple of passes at it as they race, so they'll get to preview the finish. One thing I want to highlight is this: the wind looks pretty moderate today. That'll be significant. Racers will use that wind to attack. And we'll talk about why during the race. We'll look at the draft and see what the impact of wind is on the racing. So it's definitely a tactical advantage for riders that wish to use it. Climbing, it's only 125 meters. Those bumps look significant. They're not too bad. These velodrome climb only reaches, I think, even 4%, just for a very brief moment. Most of it's 2 or 3%. Very draftful, high speed. About a 80-second climb up around the velodrome on the flat and then right back down. So even the flatlanders, these are not climbers hills at all. The flatlanders can get up and down this. It's kind of a hard effort, especially if one team wants to attack or not. So let's go ahead and pop in the pen again. I'm just spectating. So let's we've got 7 minutes left. We'll talk a little more about this structure. Let's see. I'm not sure where I got into. I think I was picking the wrong the wrong thing when I picked spectate. Let's try that again. I'm highlighting that. Spectate. So I don't know why we popped into kind of a generic rider. Let's see. Let's try this one more time. I don't want to say race because it's a limited access number of people, so I could mess it up if I chose to race. Okay, here we are. That's what we want to see. So this is a ladder race with two different dirt squads. Dirt being dads, indoors riding trainers, a huge virtual team across all platforms. So big that they break up into small sub squads. That's what you see here. You see the dirt kit, and then the dirty. Let's see, which team is this now? I'm forgetting. Let me look this up. Dirty Steamers. Yes, they have several squads. So they're all friends, all on one major team, but they're going to be racing each other competitively as friends. So let's look at the signups real quick, and then we'll talk more about the structure. We went over the course a minute ago. Let's look at how this thing is set up. It's set up as a team scratch race. So you can see the point structure. The winner takes 10 points, second 9, 8, 7, 6, all the way down. There's 5. It's a 5-on-5 race. So everybody will score a point. You add up the points for each team, and that's the team who wins. Now, what makes ladder racing interesting, it's a good way to sort out head-to-head races. If you have 20 teams, eventually we aspire to that. Hopefully we'll have that one day on the platform. That's the way one way you can build out a structure and a classification system is they race each other head-to-head. The general rule is that the teams down the ladder get to challenge a team ahead on the course of their choosing, and if they beat them, they bump ahead of that squad in the ladder, and everybody else moves down. So in that sense, it's a kind of a dynamic structure. It could be over a certain period of time, say, but it gives people flexibility. You can sort out when two teams can get together to race, and then you race, and then the structure sort of sorts itself out that way. So it's a really interesting. It's an interesting approach to how to do these kind of races. And 5-on-5 is interesting because they're small and they will be very tactical. These guys will all be on race radio, not together, but each squad will be on race radio through Discord, so they'll be hearing each other. In fact, Jeff is recording this, our host, live streaming this, I should say. He always includes his webcam and race radio, which is really interesting. If you only have time to watch one version of this race, watch Jeff's, because you get to see how the team is talking to each other, sorting out what they're going to do in the race. It's quite fascinating. Let's see if I can do chat. I think he's turned on chat. Okay, oops. Let me see. Try that again. I had team notes. Oh, that's all I can do is sort out team. That's interesting. That's kind of a new feature. But all I can do is send notes to my team, which I'm not on these teams, so they didn't see that message. Let me give Jeff a chapeau so he knows I'm here. It's the best I can do to communicate with him in game at the moment. What else to tell you about this race? Yes, watch Jeff's live stream for sure. If you watch one version of this, I'll be recording this and posting later. It's a different perspective. I'm more of a neutral observer in this. We'll be bouncing around different riders, just trying to catch up to the action, whereas Jeff has a very first-person view of this, but will capture race radio for his squad. So we've got 2 minutes, 33 seconds before we go. Let's look at the rider list one more time with the signups. Hopefully everybody will make it to the pen. 5 on each team. I know all these guys to some degree or another, or at least recognize the names, and some I've raced with many, many, many times. And we'll talk about what I know about each one as we go. Again, 2 minutes left. At 1 minute mark, the pen will close, and then we'll sort out the teams. The two teams will be sorted, and we'll head off at when the clock hits 0. So as far as ladder goes, this is kind of the second exhibition race in a way. They're doing it in a smart way, Jeff is, and the other seasoned ladder captains. Rather than build a structure and then try to fill it with teams, they're just doing fun demonstration races to kind of educate the platform, the people on the platform, what it's all about, starting in an informal way. And as it draws attention and they start to grow, they can build out more of a structure to the league itself. But I think that's a smart way to go about it. I hope my team can get together and participate as well soon. All right, the 1 minute mark. We'll have everybody that's going to be racing, and we'll go from there. All right, excellent. So we got 5 from the Dirt Squad: Jeff, Chili Willy, that's Mike Grill, Brent, Taylor, Mike. And from the Dirty Steamers, we have Zeb, Kris, Arza, and Brian. So that'll be very interesting. Again, each of these squads will be on separate race radio, coordinating with each other, using team tactics. And it looks like, yeah, we're missing one. It was to be a 5-on-5. Troy didn't make the pen. So now it's a little bit of a disadvantage for the Dirty Steamers. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. 17 seconds to go time. I like those kits. All right, we're off. I'll bounce around between the different riders. Let's see who takes the initiative first. I haven't had good luck attacking down this. Usually there's enough braking corners. It's pretty hard to break away early, so I wouldn't anticipate that. So let's keep an eye on the wind. That's significant enough at 9 kilometers per hour. So you can definitely get more bang for the buck when you try to attack into a tailwind or a crosswind. Let's see if they use that tactically. It'll be interesting to watch Jeff's stream afterward to see if they're monitoring that and coordinating their efforts that way. So everybody's together. Everybody's together so far. No attacks. I don't think anybody's trying to make a move on the descent. That makes sense. It's really, really hard to do anything too significant there. But you might watch along the coast at the bottom, especially if there's a cross or tailwind. What's great about these races, with only, in this case, 9 riders, there's no place to hide in a big pack. So if someone attacks, somebody from the other team has to cover it. You can't just let it go and hide in the pack and hope it all comes back. There's no hiding in this. So that's what's one of the great things about it, what makes it really interesting tactical team racing. Mike's got the initiative there. So they'll head up to the south lake. They'll go a little bit along the coast and then they'll turn inland. All right, 9 kilometers per hour. That's significant enough to make a difference for attacks. What happens in a cross and tailwind is that the draft cone or draft wake is actually pretty small. So you have to jump on an attack really quick, or else it's just a lot of work. You don't gain any benefit from the draft. My number up in the center on the left, that 80%, that's the draft percentage that people are seeing at the moment. So Chili Willy, Mike is sitting nicely in the draft. If we go up to Jeff, he's only getting 5%. That number is interesting. You think it's odd that he has draft in the front, but that's actually physical. You get a draft benefit from riders behind you in that position. So that's appropriate physics. So right now you can look at them. They're not pushing it. You can tell by their numbers, 36.6 kilometer per hour, clear numbers. Nobody's attacking yet. They're waiting. They're watching each other. They'll have some kind of plan when they came into this thing. You have to be really good at improvising in these things, because sometimes things don't go according to plan. That's what race radio really helps. But they probably have an idea of when they want to attack. They're into a headwind at the moment. There goes Kris. Keep an eye on him. So he does the first attack. Let's see how long he keeps that big watts up front, that big number in the center, or his watts. He attacks just before the turn inland. Let's see if he maintains that. Now he's got a crosswind. So let's go back and look at Mike is chasing him down. And Brett's closing him in. He's got 27% draft, so he's in the draft. They have to respond to that. They can't let Kris just get away. So they'll have riders assigned to chase down attacks. Now, there's an opportunity to counterattack if you have the legs, if you chose to. So that's the first. That'll be the first of many. Jeff commenting on a nice one. But they did get to that's what's nice about these races. It's not all about just hammering big watts. They're very tactical. So there goes Jeff. This is part of an effort. He's testing the legs of the riders behind him. An effort. He's forcing the other team to to respond. With these small team races, you can't let it get away. You simply have to respond. So a little bit of a coordinated effort on the dirt squad between Chili Willie and Jeff. Let's see how the Dirty Steamers crew is responding. So there goes Kris. Kris is covering it. And that's the way you have to attack these things. Again, a points race, all the points awarded at the finish, 10 down to 1 point at the end. Disadvantage for the Dirty Steamers with only 4 riders making the pin, but it's not an insurmountable problem. They just have to coordinate and finish high up in at the finish. All right, here we're rounding South Lake. This is where we'll get a look, our first look at the finish. There's a little punchy climb right here. The next banner you see, that's where the finish will be. That's where it's a custom finish. So Jeff deviously put it at the top of this 5% little punchy climb. You get just over that, and there's the finish. We'll pass it once more, and the third time we come around to it, it will be the finish. All right, there's Zeb. I know Zeb very well, and I'm not all surprised to see him attack there. He's a very animating rider. Let's take a look and see who's how they're following him. So they have to respond to that. They can't just let Zeb get away. He's a great rider to break away with because he works incredibly hard and is very generous with his watts. So if he has a good partner, he's a great guy to share work with. Jeff covered that, and now the Dirty Steamers have to watch out for Jeff. Jeff is a big guy with big watts. So on a flatter course like this, he's definitely a danger man. They can't let him get a big lead. They'll definitely want to cover anytime he attacks. Jeff is a GI doc, actually, from the east coast of the U.S., but living in Northern California now. He and his wife Becca are both incredibly active on indoor cycling, and you can tell their 2 sons, they've got them involved with mountain biking. Really interesting places they ride near their home in Northern California. They've got 2 athletes in the house and a very active cycling family. Jeff hosts the Dirty Fridays race each week, which are really he picks some nice format and send courses, and you like team tactics. Those races are really good for that. I've been on the receiving end of dirt team tactics many times. It's actually great fun, even when you're the victim. I really enjoy those. I hope to get fit enough again to be able to compete in those again soon. So we appreciate that. The platform is great. Physics is great, as you can see, but it's really the organizers that make the magic, and that's what keeps everybody coming back. Just like exactly what they're trying to do here with the ladder racing. That's what makes it really interesting. So everybody together so far, they got 9 riders. We've seen a few attacks. Each of them has been covered, kind of probing attacks. There'll be some more coordinated efforts as we go. So here's a case where if you look at the arrow and the wind, it's 9 kilometers per hour. So this is a place where you can attack. The next attack that comes, I'll show the rider in a second. We'll watch what happens in the draft. It's amazing. The headwind, the draft cone is very large. It's pretty easy to stay in the draft and keep up with somebody. It's really hard to make an attack stick in a headwind. It's best to sit in on that. You can also use, well, we don't call it steering on this platform. The developers are very, very keen to call it tactical positioning. They don't have active steering like they do in Swift and some others. So you can push an arrow, right, left key, and your avatar will move over politely when it can. But it's a good way to move over to the gutter in an attack, in a crosswind, say. You make yourself hard to draft. So it's a tactic that you can use in these races. You'll see bots doing it. Suddenly they'll move over to the right and really hammer it. So this is the only real significant climb we have in this race. This particular course is coming up. They're going to turn inland and head up the velodrome now. So back to where they started. But again, it's not a huge climb. fast, draftable, but here we go. So this is, let's see if anybody's planning an attack here. Okay, there's Jeff's big watts. Let's actually watch the rider behind. So there goes Zeb. He's covering that. It's a pretty hard place to break away, but you can make everybody work hard. You can tire legs out for sure on this climb. See how willing they are to work. It's about an 80-second climb maybe to the top. It's hard to break away, but you can definitely put some hurt in some legs. And all these guys are, you can tell by the numbers on the right, they're pushing pretty hard up this. They're not dropping anybody at this point. That's a big effort, 500 watts up this. So he's forcing a dirt squad to cover that. You can't let Kris get away, and Jeff is. And you're starting to stretch this out a little bit, so he's starting to hurt the other team a bit. Kris is another one of those great organizers. In fact, he just posted he's going to be hosting the Dirty Sprocket Smash again, the 3rd season. So it's a kind of a weekly race he hosts, and then a few different sessions, and then periodically he'll come along with a series. That's really pretty special. So we thank Kris for his efforts. Okay, this is interesting. So now we've got Zeb, Arza, and Kris all attacking. So the Dirty Steamer's going first. Starting to stretch things out. Mike Hardy is off the back a little bit, and so this is interesting. This was that I didn't expect they'd be able to shatter the field too much here. That's not easy to do. The climb isn't that steep, but the effort was really hard up the climb. So there's Kris. He's up there with Zeb. And then we've got Jeff and Chili Willy coming. So we've got both teams represented in the top 4. Ours are just behind. Let's go check on the other riders. Now there's Mike. I know I raced with Mike a lot. He's a very strong rider. He might have had a technical. That 2500, oh, you can't see it in his name here. He's simple, but normally he races with Mike Hardy 2500M symbol on his name. He's simplified it here just to be consistent with the other riders. That 2500M signifies he races at 2500 meters. He's an American living in Ecuador, races at high altitude, so he's got far less oxygen to deal with than everybody else. Okay, so we got Taylor and Brian are the next group up. And then Brent is heading down the hill now. Brent is 7 seconds off of Arza, so he's out of the draft solo. So he's in that difficult position where you can see the riders ahead, but it's a tough choice to try to go all out to bridge up or wait for teammates to come back up. He's got two teammates behind him, but also one competitor. So it's a tricky tactical situation. Moving up, we've got Arza. It looks like they'll catch back on. So we've got the top 5 are going to come back together. And between them, we've got 3 on the Dirty Squad and 2 on the Dirt Squad. So credit to the Dirty Steamers. They only started with 4, but they'll have 3 of their 4 riders in this top 5 bunch. So I mentioned at the beginning they're at a disadvantage, only starting with 4, given the points rate structure, but they've made the best of it with actually having outnumbered the Dirt Squad here. So it'll be interesting to see how the race tactics play out. This is Mike in the front. Things have settled down a little bit here. We'll watch Brian and the other rider. Let's see who's Brian's with now. So Brian and Brent came along. Now this is interesting because they're on 2 different teams. So you'd love to bridge up to help your teammates, but you also don't want to drag a competitor up. So this is always a difficult situation to be in. If you can break away and not drag your competitor up, that's a good thing. But you really don't want to bring a competitor up, especially Brian in this situation, because he's got competitive advantage up in front with only two of the dirt squad. So he definitely doesn't want to help the dirt riders, Taylor and Brent, bridge up to the front at all. So he'll sit on this and kind of not contribute, but tag along for sure. And if they go, he'll follow. So again, this is what we mean by that very interesting tactical situation. You couldn't have predicted this. I wouldn't have. Kris is an interesting fellow. Again, very active, huge contributor to the platform with what he does, creating that the Smash series. But I've always noticed he races incredibly early. He and I are in the same time zone on the east coast of the U.S. I didn't know how early. He says he's up by 4:30 in the mornings, ready to race. And as he gets more fit, and I know he is because he and his teammate David crushed Evan and I yesterday in a tandem race. So here's an attack. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. A little more on Kris. So that's bold. Jeff's only got one teammate with him. They've got three competitors with them. I'm not surprised. Jeff has really big watts, so he can put the hurt on other teams. So that's what they're trying to do, trade a little bit here. So there's Chili Willy. That's Mike Grill. Mike's out of Oregon. He and I've chatted a little bit. He and I have the same hardware, so we've compared notes on the mysteries of bike trainers before. He's actually one of two connections to Ultimate. He was an Ultimate coached a professional Ultimate team. And Taylor, who's in this race, also back in the second group, played professional Ultimate. So that's apparently some kind of requirement for the team, which is pretty impressive. They're really interesting people across this entire our community. Okay, so we'll keep an eye on these guys. We'll focus on them, but we'll also keep tabs on the fellows behind. All right, this is the last look at the finish. The next time we come around will be the finish. We've got 9 kilometers to go. It's an interesting place. They're turning into a crosswind as they punch up this climb. So it is a place you could lose some on the draft if you punch that climb just right. Maybe move over to the left side with the direction of the wind. Could be an interesting place to make yourself difficult to follow. It's always dangerous to go first into these with a strong draft. People could draft and beat you on the finish. I'm not a sprinter, so it's not my game, but the guys I see doing it are. So there's Mike off the front with a little push. So race rate will be fascinating with what the plan is, with what Jeff and Chili Willy are planning to do here. They've got 3 competitors with them. I'd be interested to see what Kris does too. He streams as well, so we might actually have 2 live streams, one from each team up. I hope we do. I'll post those live stream links in the description of this race in case you catch this one first. I would definitely recommend diving into those so you can see the perspective of these 2 different teams. Again, things settling down. You're going to wait until another point. Now, it's interesting. I don't know what the plan was. If I were Jeff and Chili Willy, you only got 2 riders. We'll want to finish 1-2 if you can, of course. But they're at risk because they got 3 competitors with them. Points go from 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 all the way down. Let's say you really don't know how either team could come out ahead. And what's interesting is the players behind, the racers behind, will add points too. So if you're the Dirty Steamer squad, you really still have to do well in this finish because there are more dirt riders coming along behind that will scoop up points at the end too. So it'll be fascinating to watch the points as they start to finish. Sometimes you'll see teams toggle back and forth as the riders come in. It could be very close, and it makes it really interesting. All right, just 7.1 kilometers left. I can't imagine Zeb won't go again. He's I race with him all the time. He's out of Michigan, and he's always a very animating racer, great at attacks. So I can see him offering to lead out an attack to help his teammates. Ours I know a little bit. I raced in the Friday morning dirt races with him. Okay, there goes Kris again with an attack. Let's see what it looks like behind him. Again, Dirt's got to respond. Here they come, Mike and Jeff. It really has to be both of them at this point, doesn't it? Because they've only got 2 riders. Let's see if they counterattack. Yep, indeed. Jeff took that, used that momentum to steam past Kris. Now Kris has to respond. So he's doing this to force the dirty steamers to cover, and they did. Kris was right on it, Zeb and Arza. So it's worth it. These counterattacks are always worth it. It was into a tailwind and crosswind, so it was a good point to try. Chili Willy had to go with him with only 2 to try at least to break away. Okay, we're heading back up to the velodrome climb again. Now, all these guys are good. It'll be really hard to drop anyone of this particular group. I don't see that happening, but it's just a matter of how much they want to tire the legs ahead of the finish. So let's see what they decide to do. Here's what it looks like from helicopter view. I think the guys behind are in their own race at this point. I don't see them catching up or anybody bridging up at this point. It's going to be these 5 fighting for the top 5 positions and points attached. All right, Arza decides to push the pace. Let's look at the draft. So there's Jeff following him. He's just a few meters behind, 55% draft. Once you get in the draft here, that's all you really want to do. It's really, really hard to break away. You have to really snap a gap and be able to keep it. But so Jeff just is fine, just sitting in the draft here. Unless, of course, he wants to push things a little bit like he's doing. I've been on the receiving end of Jeff on these climbs too, and he's dropped me here, so I'm not at all surprised to see this. So it'll be interesting to see what Mike does. This is interesting tactically. Okay, it was well covered by Kris and Zeb. So this is exactly what they want to do. At this point, they just want to make sure they're in the draft. Can't let Jeff get away. They can even counterattack her. So it looked like everybody covered that. These are strong riders. It's going to be really hard for anyone to break away, which is 4.8 kilometers left. They're probably starting to think about the finish and how they want to attack that win and how early, who wants to go first, and how they're going to team up to attack that finish. Let's check on the guys behind here. So there's Taylor. He's coming up. He's a father of 2 boys, a microchip designer. He's the ultimate Frisbee professional formerly. He has some interesting interest in cycling. His dream cycle is to be able to do a cycling trip around the coast of Japan, which I thought was really interesting. There's Taylor. There's Brian. Brian is a dedicated indoor cyclist. He just completed his 200th TTT, all with the same dirty steamer squad, which is pretty amazing when you figure most crews race once a week. That's a pretty astonishing number of team time trials. That's a format that's close to my heart. We do team time trials in this platform, so I always appreciate team time trialists, but that's an astonishing number. And it shows the level of dedication these fellows have for this indoor cycling. All right, so we got Brent Taylor and Brian, these are going to be important points for the finish. 2 dirt riders and 1 dirty rider. So we're going to watch that, but let's keep an eye on the front to see what happens. We'll watch their finish, and we'll pop back to watch the finish of the second group. I forgot to mention Kris is another rider who kind of got started, like so many of us, during COVID with indoor cycling. A lot of former outdoor cyclists got started with indoor cycling during COVID and just took off. In fact, he's mostly an indoor rider. That's not uncommon either. He's been knocked off his bike twice riding outdoors, decided indoor riding at 4:30 in the morning is more appealing than dodging cars in Washington, D.C. I can't blame him one bit there. So he'll do closed road races like Grand Fondos, but for the most part, you'll find him riding indoors. That's actually, sadly, not uncommon to have that kind of story history with a lot of the community. Having encounters on roads outdoors is something that gets a lot of us riding indoors and appreciating it more. Okay, these guys have 2.6 kilometers left. At this point, it's all about the finish. They're on the coast. It's just a matter of who goes first. When do they want to wait and counterattack the other squad? This is, I don't know. It's not obvious to me, but 3 dirty steamers, 2 dirt riders. I know the dirt riders probably best. They're both good at long attacks, so they might decide their best course of action is to strike first and see if they can coordinate an attack and stay away. But that could be big trouble if they're not able to break the rubber band, or do they want to just wait for the sprint? So tactically, it gets very interesting. You can see they've slowed well down. The watts are very low. Look at Zeb, it's only 140 watts. Ours 200. So this is just zone 2 for these guys. They're basically waiting and watching the other team carefully. They're talking on race radio. They'll have a plan on when they want to go, what order, but they'll have to be ready to respond if the other team goes. That's what we find interesting about this racing. Very tactical. They'll be coordinating on race radio. They know each other. They're all on the same big team, so that's kind of interesting. They'll know each other's strength. Who's the best sprinter? Who can do a long breakaway? This might be. Let's see here. Is this it? Is there just a feint? 400 watts for Kris. That's not a feint. He's starting the fireworks off. 1.5 kilometers left. Jeff and Zeb cover it. And more than that, they decide to use that as their counter attack. So there goes Chili Willy. Jeff's sitting back. He's going to follow. Let's watch this action. So this is Mike. Yeah, that's all out. 1.2 kilometers. He's going to hit a braking corner here a little bit. And then he's going to turn into a headwind, which is unfortunate for him. Now he's into a kind of a headwind. There's the 1 kilometer flares. All right, that was Chili Willy kicked things off. Here's Jeff. This is what he does. Big watts for a long period. Kris is right on it. Let's see if everybody's still on. $750 meters left. There goes Arza next. Jeff covering. Everybody's still in the draft. I don't know who to watch at this point. It's anybody's game. Let's see. Yeah, you're right into a headwind. That's a tough, long sprint. They're going to turn into that crosswind up the hill. So whoever's the punchiest rider who can time it right is going to win and hit the banner in 350 meters. There goes Kris, 620 watts. Let's see if he does it. well done. Only 120 meters left. Kris timed it right with that push to the line just ahead of the climb. Here comes Zeb. Very, very fast. Let's see if he can. It's going to be close. So, oh, Kris just got it. You want to go Zeb. And then Jeff right behind. So Dirty Steamers with 26 points. Dirt. Now the points are odd. I don't understand the points because Jeff was right behind. But those points didn't quite add up, I didn't think. So they'll have to sort that out. You can always fix that later. But that was an interesting race. That's what ladder racing is about to me. It's all tactical racing. Okay, here's the last 400 meters for the next bunch. So we got 2 dirt riders. Taylor pushing hard, Brent right on his tail, and Brian just out of the draft there. Let's see, in fact, he's still in the draft. He's got a really strong punch. He might be able to catch here. Yeah, you can see what happened when the crosswind came about and dropped right out of the draft. But here he comes. Let's see if he can catch it at the finish. It's going to be close. So he's got a good finish, just a little bit out. I think that crosswind caught him out just a teeny bit. Interesting. So there you go. You can see how the points all kind of panned out. In my head, something looked odd when I saw only 8 points after 2 riders had finished with dirt, but it might have sorted itself out. Maybe it was just maybe just slow to catch up. So the last rider come through is dirt. There's only 2 points left, I think. So I don't think Mike can close that gap. Looks like Dirty Steamers with 4 was able to use their 3 riders to get into the first break of 5 very effectively and finish strongly. So, but it was a good close match. That's what's fun about these races. It was a good closely matched teams, well chosen on a good course. It makes for a really interesting tactical race. You could see there were times when they were just going along, watching each other, dueling. There would be attacks, counterattacks, and then they had to plan for the finish. And congratulations to Dirty Steamers who got the best of their brothers on the dirt squad this time. So there's a comment from Brian, went on the wrong banner. That's a risk around South Lake. I empathize. I've done that because you're coming along, you're oxygen deprived like Mike is surely right now. You see this banner and your brain sees banner, sprints for banner, even though that's not the finished banner, especially with these custom races. So you have to watch that over on the right. It shows the distance remaining, or the upper left, let's say, to the finish, 660 meters. I've learned the hard way. You have to watch that, and I have to consciously not pay attention to banners. I sprinted for the wrong one twice in 1 week. 2 different races on this course myself. So I've been stung before, and always watch distance to the finish. So, all right, Mike bringing it home again. He's racing a lot on Twitter. I haven't seen him on this platform as much lately. We get to see him in the Sunday Medio Fondo often. An extraordinary endurance athlete who races at high altitude. I just don't know how he does it. When he's fully fit, he's won those races before. Sometimes it might be his second race even. So it's an incredible endurance athlete. All right, congratulations to the Dirt Squad. Congratulations, Jeff. I think you're onto something here really interesting. People like tactical team racing, and this format really brings it to you. So I'll keep trying to get my squad together to race. I saw you got some interest from others. Get some more things going and build a structure around that. Thank you for all your efforts. Congratulations, guys. That was good fun. And we'll catch you next time. Well done, Mike. That should wrap it up. Let's see. Yep, there he goes. He got the final 2 points. So close effort between the 2 brother dirt squads, but again, good fun. Thanks for watching. Watch Jeff and Chris's live streams for their own team perspective, which would be really interesting. Different race radios. You can see what tactics they were talking about. That's definitely the way to view this race. All right. Thank you very much.